So my experience at Nipissing University, I found greatly assisted me in terms of taking the next step in which my case was going to medical school. And so Nipissing University was a fantastic opportunity to learn in a small class size where I could get very personalized learning to meet my needs, and with enthusiastic professors there. That was one big part of it. The other big part was the component of being part of the ski team there, coached by Toivo Koivukoski, and who's a professor there, as well as Dave Nyber, who is a former national team member on the cross-country ski team. So both of those aspects were great stepping stones in my career, as well as in my ski career. So both of those great reasons that took me on to the next stage afterwards. My greatest achievement so far in my life, I would say that attending medical school was and finishing it. More so the finishing, I would say, was one of the biggest achievements. But I have to go back to my skiing days, and in 2012 when I qualified for and competed in the World Cup in Quebec City in the city sprint, I would say that's my greatest achievement. It was always a goal of mine to compete internationally in cross-country skiing, and that was the one opportunity I had. And I didn't end up taking the next steps of being a regular competitor, but still having that one glimpse was definitely the highlight of my career. As a Nipissing University alumnus, it's a badge of honor, I suppose. It's something I look back on really fondly in terms of the 2 years that I spent there finishing my degree. I had previously started my degree and went back to university in my mid-20s. And it was a really supportive learning environment, and I look back very fondly on all the professors that helped me take up my studies again when I was in my mid-20s and had been out of the game for a little bit. So it's a very, very fond memories, look back on it very fondly. I've recommended the university to others that I know who've been looking at pursuing post-secondary, and it's a place that I hold close to my heart, both for the academics there that really helped me pursue medical studies afterwards, but also for the cross-country ski training I had while I was there, which was fantastic in terms of having this unique setting of ski trails on campus, which I don't think many places have. So it was a really unique setting, both for academics and athletics. I think growing up in competitive athletics, I had a lot of role models and inspiration, both through cross-country skiers like Becky Scott, and then later with Alex Harvey and others on the World Cup stage. And then also with other athletes who I was involved with at Nipissing, including Dave Nyber, who was the assistant coach while I was there. He was the first Canadian to finish the Tour de Ski, so he was someone I grew up racing with and looking up to. And then also on the team, we had some really amazing teammates there, and someone who always, was an inspiration for everyone on the team, I think, was the late Shelby Dickey, who passed away unfortunately, very tragically, just over a year ago. So those are all big role models for me in cross-country skiing, and now in my career of medicine. I think as a Métis doctor in training, I think there's a lot of Indigenous doctors in Canada that I really look up to, like Dr. Nadine Caron, general surgeon in Prince George, as well as some of the other Indigenous doctors in Prince George where I did medical school, as well as across Canada. So those are some of the folks I really look up to now, who are trailblazers and who are really changing healthcare, I think, for the better for Indigenous people. There's a few quotes that have stood out to me over the years of whether it's hearing a lecture from someone or a speech or a keynote speech, that kind of thing. One of them was from, I believe it was a dean at a Canadian university in Ontario, who was saying, and I don't think it was at Nipissing, it might have been, but it was a dean who was talking about for Indigenous youth like myself at the time, one of the biggest steps we can take is to get a degree, and she had this message of not just stopping at one, about just keep getting degrees, keep going to school, keep getting that education. That we need to make sure that we're well represented in careers, both professional degrees that take additional training, but also in postgraduate studies. So that's one big one. Another one that's more close to home for me, about being from the Northwest Territories and growing up in Yellowknife, which is close to the Clecho region, and doing competitions at Chief Jimmy Bruno School, where we did cross-country running territorial championships back in the day, where at that high school, and a common saying throughout the Clecho region is about being strong like two people. And while I'm not a Clecho citizen, I do have some relatives who are, and that's been a phrase that's really stood out to me, and I know there are a lot of us Indigenous people, Métis people who live by those words, and that's going back to that dean as well, who spoke about, as Indigenous youth, we have to get as many degrees as we can. So those are some mottos that I live by.